All right, so here is the key, the answer key to the study guide for our mid-unit test for Unit 1. So all the problems on here are pretty much just like the problems you're going to see on your test. The test is actually multiple choice, so you'll have options, and in here you do not. But pretty much if you can do the problems on this study guide, you can do any problem I'm going to give you on your test. So let's get started. The first question asks, what does 45 divided by 9 mean? And what I mean by that is, it means how many groups of 9 are in 45. That's really what it means. So if you're asking yourself, what is it talking about? Why? What does it mean when I divide? It just means we're looking for how many groups of 9 can go into 45. The second question asks, is it possible to find the greatest common multiple of two numbers? Well, we talked about this in class, that multiples can go on forever and ever and ever. For example, the multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, ... So they go on forever. If that list goes on forever, can we ever find a greatest common multiple? No. We can find a least. We can find the smallest one that two numbers might share. But there will never be a greatest one because numbers go on forever to infinity. So no, it is not possible to find a greatest common multiple because multiples go on forever. They're infinite. Okay, number 3 asks us to find the greatest common factor between 14 and 28. So the method that we used the most often in class was the SLED method. I'm going to look at 14 and 28 and determine if there's a common factor that they share, and there is. 7 goes into 14 2 times, and it goes into 28 4 times. But I'm not done there because 2 and 4 still share a common factor. So I'm going to divide by that common factor of 2. 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 4 twice. Since the two numbers I'm left with here do not share any common factor other than 1, I know that I'm done with the math portion here, at least the division portion. And now I'm going to look, and the GCF is on the left. So we take all the left factors, the ones that they had in common, and we multiply them. So our GCF, greatest common factor, will equal 7 times 2, which is 14. Finding the least common multiple of 6 and 10, basically the way that we work that one is we put 6 and 10 on a sled. We look for a common factor that they share, and in this case it's 2. And we want to find out how many 2's go into 6, that's 3, and how many 2's go into 10, that's 5. Since 3 and 5 don't share any other common factors other than 1, we've done the division portion. And in the case of least common multiple, LCM is all of them. So we're going to multiply. So our LCM equals 2 times 3 times 5. And 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 times 5 is 30. Okay. Question number 5 asks us to list all the factors of 18. All. I'm going to use a table this time because I think that you get organized a little bit better. So we know that 1 times 18 is 18. And then we're going to look, 18 is an even number, so I know that 2 goes into that. And it happens to be that 2 times 9 gives me 18. When I add 8 and 9, so the digits here, I get the number 9. And 9 is divisible by 3, so I know 18 will be divisible by 3. So if 3 is a factor, happens to be that 3 times 6 makes 18. 4 does not go into 18, and neither does 5. And since we've now matched back up with the factors, we know we've gotten all of our factors. Okay, let me say that again. As we go, we match up until we meet in the middle. And since we checked 4 and 5 and they don't work, and we've got back to 6, we know we've gotten them all. Okay, the first 4 multiples of 8, the first multiple will be 1 times 8, which is 8. The second will be 2 times 8, which is 16. 3 times 8, which is 24. And 4 times 8, which is 32. Those are the first 4 multiples of 8. And please be careful because on the quiz, you guys saw the number 4 here. and you did the multiples of 4, but it's asking for the first 4 multiples of the number 8. 8 is the number we start with. On number 7, it asks you to list 2 numbers that are not divisible by 3. So anything that when we add up doesn't add up to something divisible by 3. So this answer will vary, but for example, we know that 7 isn't divisible by 3. We also know that 22 isn't divisible by 3 because 22, when you add those digits, you get 4, and 4 is not divisible by 3. If a number isn't even, can it be divisible by 6? And the answer here is no, because in order to be divisible by 6, it has to be divisible by 2 and 3, right? To be divisible by both 2 and 3. Since it's not even, 2 is not a factor. And since 2 isn't a factor, 6 can't be. Okay. Lauren buys dog food every 4 days and cat food every 5 days. If she buys both kinds of pet food today, I apologize for the typo here, in how many days will she next buy both kinds of pet food? So the key word here is next and both. Both is a big deal because we're looking for a time when they both overlap. So if she buys dog food every 4 days and she buys cat food every 5 days, what are the days that she is actually going to buy dog food? Well, she buys it on the 4th, then she buys it on the 8th day, and then the 12th, and the 16th, and the 20th. If she buys cat food every 5 days, it'll be 5, 10, 15, 20. These numbers are multiples. So we know we're looking for a least common multiple. And since we took the time to do all that, it actually shows up right here. So on the 20th day, she will buy both. All right, question number 10 says that eggs are sold in packages of 12 and English muffins are sold in packages of 6. So eggs in packs of 12 and muffins in packs of 6. What is the least, that's the smallest number of packages that each can be bought to make an egg sandwich, 1 egg and 1 muffin, with no muffins or eggs left over? This is a common conundrum at the grocery store, right? There's a lot of different things that are sold, that should be sold together, and that are sold in different quantities. And we want to make sure that every combination we have gets 1 egg and 1 muffin. So since we're looking for the least, we know we're looking for an LCM, okay? So we take 12 and 6 and put it on a sled. 6 happens to go into both of them. 6 goes into 12 twice and into 6 once, okay? Now, since 2 and 1 don't share any common factors other than 1, we know we've done the division portion. And LCM is all of them. Remember, it makes an L. So 6 times 2 times 1. That's 12. Now, that's how many sandwiches we can make, okay? So that's 12 sandwiches, and this is where we got to be a little bit more specific. The question asks, how many packages? What's the least number of packages of each that I can buy? So if I need 12 sandwiches, I need 12 eggs. Well, I can buy 1 package of eggs, and if I need 12 sandwiches total, and they come in 6s, I'm going to actually need 2 packs of muffins to get 12 total. Okay? So again, we've got to make sure that you read the question and you know what it's asking. You needed this information. I'm going to be able to make 12 total sandwiches. And when I do that, I need 1 pack of eggs and 2 packs of muffins. And this right here is the answer to the question, because that's what it was asked. What is the least number of packages? Okay. On the back side, it says ticket sales for a concert totaled $77,778, and tickets for the concert cost $18 each. We want to know how many tickets were sold. Well, basically, this is just a division problem. So we take 7, 7, 7, 7, 8, and we divide by 18. Now, you may not have enough space here, and I always, always, always accept a scratch paper. Just make sure you staple it to the back of your paper. So I'm actually going to do this problem on the dry erase board, and I'll bring this paper back. So this question again is 18 goes into 7, 7, 7, 7, 8. All right, so the first question you should be asking yourself is, does 18 go into 7? No, it doesn't, so we're going to put nothing here. Does it go into 77? Yes. Now, here's the deal. I don't know how many 18s go into 77, but I do know that 18 is really close to 20, and there are 3 20s in here. So I'm going to guess 3. It's a guess and check method, okay? And when I do that, I get 64. Well, if you add 18 more, we're going to go over 77. So my 3 was a pretty good guess. Then we're going to use that algorithm. So we've multiplied. Now we're going to subtract. And we're going to bring down. All right, again, I don't know exactly how many 18s go into 137. But I do know that there's 5 20s in 100. And there's an extra 1 or 2 in here. I'm going to guess 7. So let's take a look and see if that works. That gets me to 126. That's as close as I'm going to get to go without going over. So 7 is my number. When I subtract, I get this. Now, 126 is too high. So I know that I can't go in here 7 times. So let's see what happens if I do 6. I get 108. That's pretty close without going over. So I know that this answer is going to be 6. 6 times 18 is 108. When I subtract, remember, I can't take 8 away from 7. So I'm going to regroup these guys, and I get 9. And then I bring down 8. Okay? And I'm guessing how many times it goes into 98, 18. And 18 goes into 98. Well, I know it's not 6 because that was 108. That's too much. So we're going to do 5. And that gets me 95. And when I subtract, I'm going to get 8. Now, I'm done with the division portion of this, but we got to know what to do with this remainder. And remember, we talked about making it a fraction. So the remainder becomes my numerator of my fraction, and the divisor becomes my denominator. And if you've been in my class at all, you know we're not done because 8 and 18 share a common factor of 2. So I'm going to divide the top and the bottom by 2 to simplify the fraction. When I do that, I still have the whole number here. Okay? But my numerator now is going to be 4, and my denominator will be 9. And now I'm truly done. That would be the answer to question number 11. Like I said, if you didn't have enough room on your paper, like I didn't, please go ahead and bring yourself a piece of scratch paper and just make sure you staple it to the answer, to your study guide. All right, the next question says that a roller coaster train holds 32 passengers. If there are 266 people in line to ride, we want to know how many times the train will have to go so that everyone gets to ride. So in this case, we want to make sure all these 266 people get a chance to ride. So again, we're going to divide to see how many of those trains we need to fill. 32 doesn't go into 2, and it doesn't go into 26. But it does go into 266, and I'm really not sure how many. But I know there's about 3 of these in every 100. So I'm going to guess 6 to account for the 200 and 2 extras for the 66. So I'm going to guess 8. 24, 25, so 250. If I add 32 more, I'm going to go over this number. So that was a good estimate. 8 times 32 ended up being 250. When I subtract, I get 16. Now these 16 right here, these are people who still want to ride. They won't fill another car, but we still need to get them to ride. So 8 full carloads are going to go down the track, and we need to add an extra one. So we will need to run the ride 9 trains so that every person can ride. So that means we're rounding up here because we want to make sure that even these 16 people that are left over that won't fill another car or another train will get to ride. And then 13, it says there are 35 kids in class. The teacher's putting them in teams of 7. We want to know how many complete teams of 7 can be made. Not partial, just complete. So we take, this one's kind of actually really easy. There's no remainder here. You guys lucked out. So how many groups of 7 go into 35? That's 5. We can make 5 teams. this should have probably been a 36. And in the event that it was, if this was 36, it would be 7 into 36. And that would still go 5 times. But we would have 1 kid left over. Okay? And so if they're only in teams of 5 or 7, then we can only make 5 complete teams. And we'll have another kid who probably has to work with the teacher. All right, in question number 14, it says that Jonathan has 2 rolls of streamers to use in decorating the school gym for pep rally. The blue roll is 48 yards long, and the yellow is 16. If he wants to make all of the streamers the same length, what's the greatest, this is our big word here, length each streamer can be? So the greatest it can be would be our GCF. So it's going to be 48 and 16, and I know there's an 8 in there, so it's going to be 6 and 2. And I still know there's a 2 in there, 3 and 1. These do not share any other common factors other than 1. So I've done my division. And the GCF equals, on the left, 8 times 2, which is 16. So it says if you want to make the streamers the same length, what's the greatest length each streamer can be? They can be 16 yards long. Okay? How can you quickly determine if a number is divisible by 5? Well, everybody should know that. If it ends, we've done this a bunch, in 0 or 5. You don't have to do the division. You just have to look for those telltale signs. What number is a factor of all numbers? What's the only number that goes into everything? It's that magic 1. 1 goes into every number. It's a factor of every number. All right. There are 36 bookshelves, a bookshelf is 17 inches long, and math textbooks are 3 inches. We want to know how many math textbooks can go on this shelf, okay? So we take that 17, and we divide it by 3. 3 goes into 17 5 times, leaving us with 2 left. What that means is 5 books fit, and there'll be 2 inches left over on that shelf. So 5 books. So we round down because there's just going to be 2 inches left where another book will not fit. Question number 18 says there's 36 boys and 24 girls playing on a co-ed softball league. All teams will have the same number of boys. We'll have boys and girls. Each team must have the same number of girls, and each team must also have the same number of boys. We answer the following question. So what's the greatest number of teams they can make? So let's do that. That's GCF. If we divide by 12, we get a 3 and a 2. No other common factors here other than 1. So we can make 12 teams. Well, if we make 12 teams and we have 36 boys, 36 divided by the 12 teams means we're going to have 3 boys on each team. And 24 girls divided amongst the 12 teams mean we're going to have 2 girls on every team. All right, here we have 520 divided by 3. Again, we're going to go 3 goes into 5 once. That's the division. We multiply. We subtract. We bring down. 3 goes into 22 7 times. 7 times 3 is 21. That's multiply. We subtract. We bring down. 3 goes into 10 3 times. We multiply. We subtract. We don't bring anything else down. So now that 1 is our remainder out of the 3 we would need to make another whole. And 9990 divided by 18. Again, we're going to think of 18 as about 20, and we can think of 99 as about 100, so there's probably 5. But we're going to check our math here. Yep, so 5 times 18 happens to be 90. When we subtract, we get a 9. And I do want you to notice that on the division that we did on the whiteboard, all these 18 calculations were already done because you needed them for that problem. You can reuse them. You don't have to do the multiplication again. Then we bring down the 9. So we know it's going to be 5 again. And 5 times 18 is 90. And then we bring down the 0. And it happens to be that 18 goes into 95 times. And so we know that our final answer is this. I hope you guys use this answer key to check your work and get prepared for our test on Friday. Let me know if you have any questions.